Hey guys, Chief Zero here. Thank you so much for tuning into my video. This is my top 5 normal type Pokemon from Generation 1. Now before we begin, I'd like to ask you to please take a quick second to hit that like button, share with your other friends that like Pokemon, that love Pokemon actually, that would be even cooler. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel. It would help a lot, and yeah. That's pretty much it. If you have any questions or want to tell me about your top 5 Pokemon for any of my lists, please go ahead and let me know down in the comments. Everything will be there. And if you haven't watched my other videos of my other top 5 types, they're right over there on the sidebar, somewhere around the screen, you know. And yeah, with that, let's begin. Alright, so starting off at number 5 is going to be Porygon, the first virtually created Pokemon in this universe. There might have been more, I don't know, but I kind of doubt it. Porygon is most infamously known as the Pokemon whose anime episode actually sent kids to the hospital back when the first season was airing because it caused a lot of kids to have epileptic seizures. Hey, I said it right that time. So so it gets a little bit of a bad rap because of that episode, and I believe it's never shown up in an episode since, mainly because it's kind of hard to work around with its actual storyline being a virtual Pokemon and all, but mainly because I'm pretty sure they're kind of scared that they don't want the same incident to happen again. Now, stat-wise, Porygon is not that great in battle. Its stats aren't as high as other Pokemon that you'll see on this list. Its attack and defense, special, speed are not that great, but it can learn some pretty devastating moves like Thunder, Thunderbolt, Blizzard. A lot of those attacks, especially Tri-Attack, which is pretty cool. It has a chance to either freeze, paralyze, or burn. So with that, Porygon, you kind of at the top right there on the 5. So sorry. Alright, and coming up at number 4 is going to be Ditto. Ditto is kind of a cool Pokemon. In the anime, is kind of introduced as this little derpy Pokemon that didn't know how to really mimic the other Pokemon, which is its literal only job. It's kind of a derpy Pokemon, which I kind of appreciate for. If you guys know me, if you watch my videos, you know that I like derpy Pokemon because I don't know why. Lore-wise, Ditto is pretty tragic in a sense. If you've played through the original games, you'll know that when you go into the mansion in Cinnabar Island and you delve into the lore behind Mew, you've come to realize that Ditto's sole existence was to be a cloned Mew, and it failed. So they're all scattered around the mansion, just kind of Dittoing around. I don't know how else to say it, but its sole purpose was to be created as a clone, and therefore just failed clone experiments of Mew, which is kind of sad. But Ditto has found a lot of love in the communities for the games as being the breeder. Everyone breeds their Pokemon with Ditto because Ditto can give birth to, or not give birth, but can lay eggs for any Pokemon that, besides legendaries and a few exceptions, to Pokemon. So they're all pretty much universally known as the breeding Pokemon, which is really cool considering that Ditto is really like a favorite amongst people, because you can't, when you're building teams, you need a Ditto to breed. It's kind of cool. I like Ditto especially for that. I feel like it can kind of be like a good wild card Pokemon when you're battling against people, because even though you know what Ditto can do, it's still kind of interesting, because if you're matched up against a really strong Pokemon that you don't have anything to fight against, throw out your Ditto. Copy that Pokemon, maybe you'll be able to stand a chance now. It kind of throws people for a loop for a minute, because they'll either be extremely confused at what you're trying to do, or be really pleasantly surprised that we're like, hey, that's a Ditto, I'm gonna find my own Pokemon right now. That's kind of cool. But besides that though, that's kind of it for Ditto. Its stats are kind of mediocre as well, and with it only being able to learn Transform, it gains the moves based up on the Pokemon that it evolves into. Also, Ditto can probably take the spot for the first synthetic Pokemon to be created. It's not the same as Porygon, who was artificially created, but Ditto was synthetically created, which is, I think, is really interesting. So with that in mind, Ditto, you're on top 4. Thanks, buddy. Alright, and coming up at number 3 is going to be Chansey. Chansey, as many of you know, is a caretaking Pokemon. You see it all the time in practically every Pokemon Center. It heals Pokemon. It knows a few healing moves for other Pokemon, like Soft Boiled, I believe. Chansey is a ridiculously hard Pokemon to kind of get past because of its huge bulk and HP. It has the highest amount of HP in any Gen 1 Pokemon. I think capping out at over 704, possibly? Somewhere around there. It is ridiculous. While its other stats may not be as well, it does have a pretty special stat, which is for attacking and defending with special attacks like Thunderbolt, Thunder, all this stuff. Chansey does get a few good moves to throw in with that, as well with its bulk. It's a pretty hard Pokemon to beat. If anything, it's a really good Pokemon to stall with. Which is kind of cool for Chansey because while a lot of Pokemon try to focus on either a really strong attack or a lot of speed so you can hit first and hit hard, Chansey is more of like the slow kind of game, like whittle your opponent down as much as possible before taking them out. Over time, Chansey will be able to whittle down any Pokemon given the chance with its nice bulk and attack moveset, while also being able to heal itself if needed. It's pretty cool. It's very stally, and it is incredibly annoying, just a little bit. Chansey also gets up on this list because, at least for me, it was notoriously hard to capture in Gen 1. First off, you had to go to the Safari Zone, which you already knew was on unlimited time. You only had 30 balls to try to catch it with. Plus, you had to make it to the location where Chansey was and hope that you could even encounter it in the first place, because they are extremely rare. Less than a 5% chance, maybe a 1% chance to even find a Chansey, on top of what other rare Pokemon could possibly be there. And then, if you have enough luck to actually find the Chansey, now you have to play a little bit of strategy here. Either you toss the rock to make it a little bit mad to make it easier to catch, or throw it some bait so that it wouldn't run away, because most likely if you just try to catch Chansey out of the blue, it would escape and then run away. Or if you hit it with a rock and for some reason its chances of running increases, it's gonna just immediately run away. So I kid you not, you have to be the luckiest person to be able to catch a Chansey. In my opinion, it was one of the hardest Pokemon to catch, probably as well as a Kangaskhan back then. Chansey is well worth it though once you can get it, because not a lot of Pokemon, like I said, will be able to beat it in one shot or something. So if you have a Chansey, awesome. I'm jealous of you and I wish I was able to have one. But yeah, so for that, Chansey, you're gonna be on my number 3 for that. You that's I can't curse. So that was it. On to number 2. Alright, and coming in up at number 2 is going to be Clefairy. Clefairy, for those of you that don't know, but I'm pretty sure you know if you're like Pokemon fans like me, Clefairy was actually going to be the official mascot for the entire franchise. Until the very last minute where they decided that, hey, Pikachu actually seems a lot more popular and is just as cute, if not a little bit cuter. So in the anime, Clefairy became a regular Pokemon in the world, and Pikachu took its place as Ash's Pokemon. Well, Ash's first Pokemon. However, though, if you read the manga for Pokemon, the Clefairy is actually the main Pokemon there. It eventually evolves into a Clefable, and I believe that's where it's currently at the manga. Which is really cool because it shows like a different side of the Pokemon universe, of kind of the what if scenario if Clefairy was still his teammate. The manga is a little bit more darker in some senses, and it's a lot more comedic as well because they can throw off a lot of gags and whatnot, but Clefairy is pretty much kind of the OG really up until the last minute. It was really cool. Clefairy's design kind of sparked a lot of interest for me at first too, because in the anime, if you've seen it, um, it's an extraterrestrial Pokemon is the way that they've explained it. They came from the moon and can only evolve with a moonstone, which was really cool because it kind of gave a thought about Pokemon being outside of the world. Pokemon being able to come in from other planets and stuff, and Clefairy was just kind of the hint of that. And I think that's really cool, but also it kind of foreshadowed the fairy type Pokemon, where a lot of Pokemon like these, like also kind of Jigglypuff, that kind of gave off that little bit of a fairy vibe, could be an option. And of course, as we all know, later on it became retconned from a normal type, which it still counts for this one, into a fairy type. But for Gen 1, Clefairy is a normal type Pokemon along with some of the other Pokemon that have been retconned later on, so Clefairy still gets a spot here. Even though it doesn't have the best stats and best moveset in the world, Clefairy is still pretty awesome, as well as Clefable, who becomes also another good special defender. And a quick tidbit on that, Clefairy is actually the first Pokemon introduced in the entire game that could hypothetically use any and every type of Pokemon move available, even up until this day. Probably with a few exceptions as well, due to Metronome. Metronome was kind of its signature ability that Clefairy used in the anime, plus in the game that it already comes with. It could be very devastating, or it could be completely not. And that's kind of the whole gimmick about Metronome, and it's always going to be associated with Clefairy, I would imagine. Maybe Togepi because of the anime, you never know. But its stats don't really give it a competitive edge. But Clefairy is also a really cool Pokemon to have, simply because of its awesome design and later evolution with some hidden lore behind that. So with that, Clefairy, you're number 2, buddy. Alright, and coming up at number 1, my favorite normal type Pokemon, and possibly the freaking cutest Pokemon in the entire series, even up to this date, in my opinion, is Eevee. I don't know how else I can explain Eevee, but Eevee is just kind of like the Pokemon that I would want the most, besides an Arcanine, to have in the real world. Eevee is freaking adorable. It probably has the most highest potential of any Pokemon, in my opinion, for either a normal type or any other type in particular, because as we all know, Eevee can evolve into multiple types of Pokemon. In Gen 1, it can evolve up to 3 Pokemon: a Flareon, a Jolteon, and a Vaporeon, which all of them have pretty cool designs. But it's still not as cute as Eevee. Did I mention Eevee was freaking cute? Because Eevee's freaking cute. I'm always looking at this art about Eevee, about how everyone wants it to evolve into a certain type of Pokemon because it can be a better Pokemon like that. But Eevee don't want to change because Eevee wants you to love it just the way it is. And I can appreciate that a lot, because Eevee, even though it doesn't have the best stats of any Pokemon or anything, it's a well-rounded enough Pokemon that not one particular stat of it is lacking in any sort of sense. It's relatively balanced, and that kind of what makes Eevee a little bit kind of cool, because it can learn attacks such as Swift and Tackle that can kind of get around things. But to me, I feel Eevee is the epitome of a normal type Pokemon. Even though there is completely nothing normal about it, its entire genetic makeup is so adaptable that it grew from having only 3 evolutions in Gen 1 to having several. I kid you not, Eevee has the most potential out of all Pokemon, because even if you wanted to use it as a battle specific Pokemon, you have so many choices to choose from. That's weird. Okay, but you know what I mean. And with the introduction of its fairy type now, it's getting more than halfway through the entire type sets of Pokemon, which is really incredible for me, and it wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for Eevee. Eevee is an amazing Pokemon to me, and I really hope that they don't decide to give it another normal type of evolution, either by leveling up or something or else, because I think Eevee is perfect the way that it is without any of the other gimmicky evolutionary types. Now, if you're curious on its evolutions, because it does have three different evolutions with so much potential, you can essentially have it to be your speed and special attacker with Jolteon. You can have it as a bulky type Pokemon with Vaporeon, and special speed or bulk and special with Vaporeon, or you can have it to be a tank and have it as Flareon with its special and just be a complete attacker and everything. There's so many different combinations that you can do with Eevee now, and it's only because Eevee is Eevee. I don't know if that made any sense at all, but I tried to explain it as best as I could. But Eevee is, in my opinion, the best normal type Pokemon and my favorite normal type Pokemon. And if I could, I would have a plushie of it like somewhere right here. It would be really cool, just kind of like chilling out and stuff. I would appreciate it very much for Eevee to accompany me. And with that, Eevee, you're my top 1 pick. I hope you guys enjoyed this list, and I hope you guys agreed with me, at least with Eevee being on the top, because Eevee is just so cool and so freaking adorable. And before I let this video go on any much further, I just wanted to say thank you again. And if you haven't already, please like and share and subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. It would mean a lot to Eevee too, if you did. And check out my other top 5 videos. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Follow me on all my social media down on the description right there, and also probably down here and below for more Pokemon vids. And with that, I'll see you guys later. Chief out.